Ugh. I have some ideas for you of the kind of papers that you can put in your junk journals. I probably have well over 30 different ideas for you today, so let's just jump right in. This, by the way, it's overflowing. I need to get another one, but I keep all of my papers in kitty litter trays. I just get these at the dollar store for a buck 25. They're stackable. When they're not overflowing like this, I need to get a couple more. And it's a great and inexpensive way to store all of your different papers. So I hope that's a good little tip for you. So, idea number one is the obvious, using old book pages. And actually, they don't even have to be old books. I think this one is like from the 1950s or so, but it has a nice patina to it. You take a newer book, which this one is, and tea stain or grunge up your papers. So I do have a video on how to take apart a book, and obviously you want to make sure that it's not a rare book or worth some money before you pull it apart. But these are available all day long at thrift stores and antique stores. Sometimes at antique stores you can buy books that are missing the cover, and they'll give them to you for really cheap. So book pages are probably our number one go-to for junk journals. When you're pulling apart the books, you may find some really cool images. And I usually go through and pull these out and just keep them sort of in a separate pile in case I want to fold these and insert a page with an image on it. Or if it's in the public domain, I may scan it so that I can use it over and over. More images. I loved her. I think she looks so boho. So pretty. There's maps. These all came out of books. This is just the end page that was in a book, but it has a lovely pine cone on it. And some smaller images. Again, all pulled out of books. And I will definitely photocopy these and use them, scan them in. The next idea is just junk mail that you receive in the mail. And this actually is a beautiful seed catalog. I love Fedco. I love their seeds. And after I'm done browsing through this and purchasing what I want to purchase, then look at these images. I love this, and it's kind of like on a newspaper sort of paper, newsprint paper. Now, I'm not an advocate for, let me just say my personal opinion here. I'm not an advocate for going to companies and asking for free catalogs just so you can tear them up and put them in your journals. These things cost companies money to produce, and if you're I just don't think it's fair to have a company incur those costs when you really don't intend to buy from them. So that's just my personal opinion. But if you do have catalogs and magazines and other things that come through your mail, search them for images. Look at this cabbage person. Oh, I love that. I'll definitely be using him. So, junk mail and catalogs and magazines would be another idea for you. How about old book covers or book sleeves? These are fun. This one is really tearing apart. I would have to reinforce this, but it would be a fun image. So if you do get some books at the thrift store, don't throw these out because these can be used as well. Old calendar pages would be another idea. I don't have right now a full-size calendar, but those when you instead of throwing out your calendar at the end of the year, tear it apart and use it in your journals. These just happen to be calendar pages that I found at a thrift store, a buck, and I will use these. But if you have a full size calendar, that's always fun too. They usually have gorgeous images in them. I happen to have been a stamp collector since I was about 13 years old, and I still continue to get their catalogs and buy some stamps to this day. And so I never throw these out. These are super fun to put in. You can cut these out, or you can put them in, fold them in half, and put them in as pages. So again, any catalogs that you get are fun to save and put in your journals. Here are some images from a large gardening book that I saved, and the image itself is too large to sort of cut out and put on the book, but you can cut this out and fold it, or just fold it like this, and that makes a very pretty page. So as I said with the earlier smaller ones, when I find images in books that I'm cutting apart, I pull them out so that I have the images. Look how beautiful that one is. So that I have the images separated from the just the script, or the type. This is a little sewing embroidery pattern that I found at Goodwill for $1. It came with the image of how it's supposed to look when you're done with it, and it came with the pattern. This can be cut apart, folded up, and put into a journal. It has lovely images on it. Even the instructions can be fun to put in a journal. So when you go to the thrift store, just look for anything paper related, and it can be lots of fun to see what's in the package. If I embroidered, I would definitely try to do this first. And here's another one that I found. Looks like the same company. And this one is super fun because it has the pattern that you would iron on. And I have a video where I actually took this. Oh wait, this is actually, somebody drew this, I think. Yeah, I think they just copied the pattern. But if it's the iron-on in the package, you can actually iron this image onto paper, which is super fun. I made a lot of actually paper and fabric, and I made a lot of cool tags using embroidery transfers, which I thought this was, but evidently not. But again, just a buck a piece, so I don't feel bad about tearing those apart. This is a very old advertisement, so sometimes you can find ephemera, antique ephemera. This I will definitely scan in and use as a page in a journal. I won't be using this because it's too pretty. I don't want to destroy it. And you can pull out, if you find any old magazines or books or manuals, textbooks or whatever, and it has ads in it, you can pull the ads out and you can cut them up, or you can go ahead and fold them and use those as pages too. And they look very interesting because of the number of different images on it. They look really cool. And if you want to know how to straighten your spine, you can wear this. No, thank you. And of course, I didn't mention the old standby scrapbook paper. Of course, that's always an option as well, and digitals too. So I have some digitals in my shop that are tea stained paper, and just a variety of things. So You can make all kinds of cool things, cool pages out of digitals. So those are the obvious things that everybody thinks of when they think of junk journal pages, digitals, and scrapbook paper. And I also have a huge collection here of sheet music. That's always fun. And I particularly love the image on this one. So the inside is fun to use as a page, but also don't forget about the artwork on the outside is sometimes fun, as well as the title is sometimes fun to use too. And these, you can find these, they're a dime a dozen there. People just don't want these anymore. They're really easy to find. Look at the old tape on this one. I love it. I do have a tutorial on how to make your own aged tape, and it looks just like this, nice and yellowed. So old sheet music is another idea for you. And I have my kitty litter tray full of sheet music. These are really great. Here's another fun piece of ephemera that I scanned and I have in my it's one of my digital kits, but you can find old ephemera like this. This is an old insurance policy, and it's super fun, and it's fun to go ahead and fold it just like this, like a trifold, and you can stick it in a journal by sewing in one piece of it and have it be like this. So old old documents are really fun. How about old maps? Well, I say old because I'm a vintage girl, but maps, they don't have to, it doesn't have to be old, but this is an old map of that's falling apart of the Boston? Yeah, Massachusetts. And this would take some reinforcing if I was going to put this in a journal. But maps are super fun and look great in journals. The next idea is to use greeting cards. This just happens to be an antique one that, oh, actually, this is a dancing card. This is a dance card. But greeting cards or any kind of cards can be fun. You can sew them in right at the seam and use the front and the back to put it in your journal. Old game scorecards is another fun thing to put in the journal. And oftentimes you'll find them at thrift shops and they're missing some of the pieces and you can't really play the game, but they have the score sheets in there. And these are fun to put in as undercut pages. And there's a journaling spot for you right there. And they can be decorated. So old score sheets are fun. And this is a really cool old score sheet. Score pad, actually, for playing bridge. So these can be pulled out and used as this would be more ephemera than an actual page. And this is starting to get some mold in there, so I need to pull this out of my collection and clean it because it will move to all of my other ephemera. So I'm going to set that one aside and clean that off. This is an old candy wrapper that went over a box of chocolates. And don't you love the crinkly sound of it? But I could definitely put this in a journal, and it has these fun tags here, so I could fold it, sew it up the middle. I'd have to reinforce this and kind of tape it, but candy wrappers can be fun. Here I have an old blueprint that I found of somebody's property line, and this would be super fun to put in a journal too. I love to use baker's paper or meatpacking paper in my journals. You can cut this down to size, and it's so fun to decorate it by stamping on it. You can really make this look very interesting. Let's see, which way does this go? This way. I didn't put nearly enough ink on that, but you get the idea. And then I would just tear it down to size. See how easy it is to work with? And then I would probably stamp the whole thing and decorate it, but then I can fold it and put it in a journal, sew up the middle, and I have a very interesting page to work with. How about when you're cleaning up your desk? How about using the paper towel that you used to clean up your desk? So let me find a good page just to demonstrate. So how fun would that look if it was sewn in? I love it. So when you're sopping up your ink, if you're doing any mixed media or painting or inking, save your paper towel. And along that line, I have, whenever I am stamping, I don't wipe it off until I'm done using up all the ink. So I'll just take whatever scrap I have nearby. In this case, it's vellum, and I will just stamp until all the ink is gone, and then I end up with a grungy piece of paper or vellum, and these can be folded and put in a journal too. I should have kept this open. So these look really fun too. So don't waste your ink. Use your scraps. One of my all-time favorites is Wallpaper, and I do have a ton of wallpaper in my shop, and it's super fun to use in so many different ways, covering your books, actually putting it on the cover of your journal, and I make envelopes with them. I make all kinds of things, but you can also cut it down and put it in as a page. It usually has fun stuff on the back, and what a beautiful cover this would be. Looks like leather, and it's very expensive. Joseph Abood wallpaper. But wallpaper is one of my all-time favorite papers to use, and it's cheaper than scrapbook paper. Old newspapers can be super fun too. These are all from the 1800s, and they're a little difficult to use because except for the cotton paper ones, these are very fragile. But there's some absolutely beautiful images and ads and whatnot in these newspapers, and then old magazines too, which I may have already mentioned, but old National Geographics usually have some really cool images, and you can find these are very easy to find. And if you find some National Geographics that are not black and white but are color, you can make these using Citrasolv. And I have a video on my YouTube channel about how I made these pages. And well, this is a page. These are tags, envelopes, and this here used to be a National Geographic page. And it's a beautiful technique. I encourage you to try it. They are made with Citrasolv. So check out that video if you have some colored ink National Geographics. The next idea is if you have any rub-ons or if you like stamping, there are a lot of things you can do. I like to just stamp on tissue paper. This particular one I'm just doing word sentiments that I can tear off and then just glue stick into my journal. But you can also make pages. These are rub-ons. And you can use these as pages and put them in your journal. Just fold them in half, and they make lovely journal pages, especially if you have this particular one. If I had a pretty color underneath, like this, it kind of shows through the tissue. I don't know if you can see that. It's not showing up really well on the camera, but I love that technique of having a darker or a more vibrant color underneath a piece of white tissue paper. So that's super fun. You can also so here's some of that baker's paper that I've stamped all over just randomly. Oh no, these are rub-ons. Rub-ons that I did all over here, and I can cut this up, and I could, if it was like this high, I could make a page out of it. Or I can cut this up and make tags and whatnot. It's fun to have a variety of sounds in the journal too. We really love crinkly things, don't we? And I forgot to mention when I was showing you these, envelopes can be used as pages as well. There's a variety of envelopes, and well, I guess this would be more of a pocket. But envelopes are super fun. I don't know if I have one in here. If I used an envelope. I just used envelopes and tacked them down. I'm not sure I actually used one. But what you would do is you would sew it in. You would sew it in like this. And then on one side you would have the envelope part where you can put things in. And on the other side, sticking out back here, would be this flap. You can actually take this flap, so it would be kind of like this. You can actually take this flap and glue it down a little bit so that you have a tuck spot, or you can have it be something that flips out. So envelopes are super fun to use as pages too. Now the next idea may surprise you, but what about using fabric for your pages? It doesn't have to always be paper. So this is just an old pillowcase kind of material that I tore and put rub-ons all over it. And I can cut this down and put it in my journal as a page. This journal that I'm in the process of making, isn't that pretty? This has all fabric pages on the inside. I haven't sewn them in yet, but this will give you some idea. So this is a vintage doily, and here's just a piece of fabric that I've put in with some pretty, it has some pretty lace or trim on it. Here's another idea. This is a paper bag that I just affixed to the back of some fabric. Oh, I guess some of these are sewn in. The pages are sewn in. Here is an antique piece of quilt that makes a really pretty page with another gorgeous piece of lace. And it's fun to flip them too. And then here's the opposite side. Again, I'm not quite done with it yet, but fabric is super fun to use as your pages too. Don't forget about using fabric. The next idea is kind of going back to paper and old books again, but just give you an idea of some things to look for when you're out and about. This is an old music book, an antique music book. Those kind of things are always fun. But one thing that's really popular in junk journals is using ledger paper. So, for example, here's a piece of ledger paper, and it looks really fun in a journal. I'm not sure if I have any more. No. So here's some things that I found in my travels, and I do not pay more than $5 for a book unless it's super rare or special, and then I don't cut it up. But this is a route book for a milkman. Isn't this fun? I loved this when I found it. It has him delivering milk, cream, whipped cream, homogenized milk, buttermilk, butter, cheese, eggs, and it's his accounting book. And these pages are super fun to just rip out and fold. See, not all of your pages have to be the same size as your journal. You want what's called undercut pages too to give your journal a little bit of interest. So you want some pages that are slightly, that's not a good example, but you want some pages that are slightly smaller. So that's super fun. This book, I paid up for this one though. See, 15, and I haven't been able to use it yet, but because it's so cool. This is somebody who was a door-to-door salesman for this company, Seven Brothers, and this is his little kit with his business cards and some envelopes, some order sheets, and he was selling office supplies. So here are the product samples for the office envelopes, for sales books. I just fell in love with this when I came across it. It's just fun to look through. Business card examples. Here's some different kind of envelopes that they would sell. So I don't know what I'm going to do with this, but I'm not sure I'm ever going to be able to cut it up. But things like this are super fun to use in your junk journal. This is a business calendar book from the 1960s. The pages are nice and yellowed, and there's a little bit of writing in it. So that there's a calendar on the front. So pages like this can be really nice for journaling spots. This one is a teacher's class register, and it still has the old rusty paper clips in here and all the kids' grades. Kids did pretty well back then. They were all getting A's and B's, but this is a super fun, nostalgic thing to be able to put in a journal. And I also love when you tear it out, it has the perforations from the binding here, which is always a fun addition to a journal. This is a bigger one that I found. It's just a register book. Love the numbering down the side. I love that. Yeah, I paid up for this one too, but it was 50% off. But it's it's from an insurance agency, and it's just got all these pages, and then somebody scrapbooked on some of the pages, which is fun. That's really super fun. But the thing I love about this is if you can find one, some kind of ledger that actually still has some blank pages, that's super fun. You can, because you can copy it and keep using it, and you don't have somebody else's writing on there. But sometimes the writing is fun to have in there too. And I love these numbers at the top. I don't know why, but I'm in love with those. And I have a little kit, little alphabet kit that I just got on Amazon or something. And quite often I will take, and if I have a sheet of paper, I will stamp numbers in the upper right corner just to make it look like this. So you can make your own ledger paper too. You can just take a regular piece of paper, tea stain it, pop some numbers in the right corner, and it kind of looks like an old ledger. You can make your own. Here's another one that came out of an auto shop, I believe. It has some cool lines here, and then, no, I guess it's an accounting book. Yeah, daily statement of business. Oh, yes, it is, because this is oil, gasoline, grease, tires and tubes, car sales. So it was for an auto garage, and I have a ton of these. This is they sold it to me cheap because it has no cover, so I don't feel bad at all tearing these out and using them. Here's another example of one, and this has I got a set of 5 of these. Somebody actually gave them to me, and all of them have bullet holes through the middle. They're law books. Somebody was in law school, and I'm thinking maybe they didn't really like law school very much. They all have bullet holes. Oh boy. But the pages are gorgeous. Again, they have those numbers in the upper right hand corner. There are some of his notes, which I may or may not use. And this isn't super old. I think it's from like the 60s. It's not from the 1800s or anything. Oh no, actually 1940s. And I have 2 more ledgers that I got. This is a cash receipt book, and this is old, from the 1930s. 19 late Oh no, there's 1917. This one goes back quite quite a ways, and it has that lovely old script in it. This I'm not sure I will tear apart. The book is in really, really good condition. And then this huge ledger thing I got here is from a company near me that's no longer in business. And again, it's more ledger paper. And it's all written on. I don't think there's a single page in here that is blank, but that's okay because it is fun to use in my journals. And besides ledger books, what about old dictionaries? These are a dime a dozen at thrift stores too, and some of them have really pretty pictures in them. This one I found at my grandmother's house. Look at that, how pretty that is. Unfortunately, this particular one, oh, these are beautiful, um, is so delicate that I can't fold them. The minute I fold them, they just crack and fall apart. So, it's really, really feathered there. But I can tear these up and use them for collage. So I'm on the hunt for another dictionary page that I can use. I would recommend, if you are using dictionary pages, kind of scan what words are on the page. Sometimes they can be a little unpleasant. Something maybe a word that you don't want in your journal. So, and I don't know what word I cut out here. Not sure, but sometimes I like to cut out the word with the definition and pop it in a journal like gratitude. That would be a nice one. So these have old dictionaries have many, many uses. And then another type of book you may come across. This one has old newspaper reprints in it. It's called Page One, 1920s. And it just has, I paid up for this one too, $7, but that's okay because every single page in here is usable. I'll get my money out of this one. But this is kind of printed on newsprint, and so I can cut these up and put them in my journals. So lastly, I would encourage you to just go through your house and see what you have on hand. I by no means am in trying to get you to go out and buy every one of those things that I just showed you. It's just to give you an idea, and if you come across some things very, being sold very cheaply, grab them. But things that I have around the house, here's a little wallet journal I'm just putting together for a friend. It has a wallpaper cover backed with fabric, and nothing is sewn in yet, but here is scrapbook paper that I sewed into a pocket. Wait a minute, is this? Yeah, I don't know. I haven't sewn it in yet, so I don't know how this goes. And more scrapbook paper that I folded and sewed some lace on, or no, actually just glued. Yeah, I sewed it. Probably not going to be able to see that, but I sewed some lace on it. And this is just plain white paper, and I put a little tiny fern stamp on it and kind of grunged up the top. This is just, it's a little thicker than photocopy paper. And I have a bunch of those in here. This is paper that I just pulled when I was talking earlier about loving these edges. So this is the same paper, but I left the edge on. I don't know what you call this. I left that on, and this looks really nice in a journal. This is a coloring book page. I have several of these in here. You know, those adult coloring books? They make really nice pages. And you can even color them too if you want. Those are always super fun to put in a journal. And then just regular, I think this all is upside down, not sure. Just regular paper. Why not? It looks great. You can tea stain it if you want. You can grunge it up. And it's cheap. More scrapbook paper with a distressed edge that just flips out. Again, same thing. Coloring book page. This is wrapping paper. How about just some wrapping paper? It's very pretty. And here's a piece of just vellum. This is upside down. Let's see. Okay, so here's what it would look like. I guess I did put one of the signatures together, the wrapping papers on the outside, and I like this one because it has this grid on the inside, which is fun. There's the piece of plain cardstock with the fern. This is a piece of vellum. This is a piece of scrapbook paper with the pocket. Just a plain white piece of paper. And in the center is a coloring book page. So you don't have to have a lot of money to create a junk journal. You don't have to go out and buy a bunch of stuff. This is more wrapping paper that I'm going to be putting in here. And if you're really creative, you can, or have the time or wherewithal, you can make your own paper. Handmade paper is always just beautiful to use in a junk journal too. So I hope that all of those ideas spark your interest in creating a junk journal and wandering around your house or your local thrift store or the dollar store to see what you can come up with. And you'll be surprised how beautiful your journal will be and how you can put together something very inexpensively. And it's kind of fun to go on a treasure hunt looking for ephemera and different papers. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!